Good afternoon, everyone. It is 12 p.m. Today is Tuesday, September 28th. We're here for the Laredo College District Building Committee meeting. Call this meeting to order. Conduct roll call. For the record, Esteban Rangel is absent. Lupita Cepeda is absent. Mercurio Martinez Jr.
Present.
Okay. Jorge Delgado, present. All right, we'll move on to agenda item number 3, which is the approval of guaranteed maximum price for South Campus Truck Driving Pad Project. Mr. Cesar Vela.
Good afternoon, members of the board. For the record, Cesar Vela, Vice President of Finance. For this Thursday's meeting, we're going to be asking the board to approve the guaranteed maximum price for the truck driving pad project at the South Campus. Included in your packet is the information submitted by Linedecker Construction. The proposed guaranteed maximum price for this project is $961,816.91. We did have a proposed or projected budget for this project of $846,368. Currently, right now, when we add the A&E fees also to it, we will be approximately $177,449 over our projected budget. We do have identified savings through phase 3 projects to address the additional amount that is needed. Now, while we worked on this guaranteed maximum price, the original proposal that came in was at $1,320,055.70. Obviously, we have met to review the scope of the work, and we have made some adjustments to the scope to bring it down to the proposed GMAX of $961,816.91. We do have the plans here that we want to share with the committee, and I'll ask Mr. Homer Pies to come and just provide a brief overview of what the project will entail and what were some of the adjustments that were made to bring the GMAX down closer to the budget that we had.
Good afternoon. I'm Metal Pies for the record, construction manager. We do have the set of plans here for your viewing. If you have any immediate questions that you'd like to ask regarding any of the modifications that we did to the original GMP that was submitted, I'll just go briefly down the list of some items that we cut back on so we could be in the budget. We did take out an allowance for landscaping and irrigation and decided to do that in-house at the time that the project is completed. We started out with a very large amount. We had 100,000, we lowered it to 50, and then we took it out completely. We did have some utility construction outlined work that was going to happen. We were going to have to relocate a fire hydrant. After reviewing the plans, again, we went ahead with the team. We went ahead and decided to go ahead and move the entrance a little bit further north to clear the fire hydrant that is currently existing along the west property line. So that was a savings of about almost $53,000. We took also into consideration of some items to be removed by physical plan, which was some athletic benches, some bleachers, some of the fencing on the backstop, some of the nettings that are around on the site as well, and some relocation of some trees that we were considering to relocate. We went ahead and we're going to just go ahead and get rid of them. There are just a few of them. Other items, we had a proposed fence allowance also to screen the northern and the eastern portion of the property where the pad will be sitting on. That item got removed. That was for almost $114,000. We also did take out a simulated dock wall that was brought in at the last minute as a suggestion to have for the testing purposes. That wall was removed and all of the concrete work was removed, and that was in the range of about $28,000 in amount. Some specialty items that were considered along with that dock wall were dock seals, dock bumpers, and they also had a bike rack that we removed that was a little shy of $3,000. We also had considered some electrical work, rough-in, and some LED poles to light up the pad for the evening hours. At one time, reviewing the numbers, we removed the poles and the LEDs. We kept the rough-in, and then after getting our second GMP for review, we went ahead and removed the electrical rough-in for the project as well. That was a savings of around about $47,000. That pretty much makes up the savings that we took into consideration. We did have two alternates. One alternate was an 80 by 80 concrete pad to park the semi trucks and get them completely off of the new pad in case the pad were to be used for something else. We went ahead and had that as an alternate. We did not include that alternate at all. And then, as I mentioned, the installation of the lighting poles and the LED lights attached to them as an alternate number 2 also got removed. So we went through several reviews. Linedecker submitted 2 different GMPs until we got the final third GMP, and that's the number that's being presented to you this afternoon for your review and approval at the upcoming board meeting. I do have the set of plans, like I mentioned. One question that has come up a couple of times in our meetings, and also I believe it's been mentioned here during the board meetings, is the construction and the makeup of the concrete slab. The concrete slab was designed according to the weight of the semi trucks. So we do have 3,500 PSI considered on this construction work. The thickness of the concrete slab is 8 inches in thickness, and we do have it called out a number 4 rebar at 14 inches on center each way, which makes up the requirement to sustain the weight of the semi trucks. So we don't have, I know I've heard a couple of concerns, but the engineer has taken into consideration during his design of the makeup of the concrete slab. Other than that, if you all have any questions, I'll be more than glad to answer them.
Chair recognizes Judge Martinez.
Thank you. I have several questions. Roughly, what is the size of that pad in number of acres?
I don't have that exact consider in acres, but it pretty much, we do have 2 side-by-side soccer fields right now. This concrete pad is going to be placed on the practice field, and just by experience of acreage, I would say probably about 2.5 to 3 acres that it makes up, square footage wise, of the area of the actual new concrete pad that will be constructed.
Do you think that is big enough? Because keep in mind, we have these 18-wheelers, they do occupy quite a bit, particularly more so when they're making a turn. And
yeah. So we do, and a little bit of more information on the pad. We did take into consideration some existing CDL training pads. One of them that is located in Corpus at Del Mar College. Our pad is probably a little bit larger than that. So we took that into consideration for their maneuvering and different tests that are being done right now to be certified. So all that has been considered on the actual size of the pad. So the question is it big enough? Yes, sir. It is big enough, and it does qualify for them to get certified for their courses.
Another question: when it comes to the concrete pad, I've been very myself. I have some, I've gone through some personal experience over at another location, my place. Be that as it may, is proper rebar being used that is thick enough to handle the 18-wheeler weight and all of the activities of those 18-wheelers? Because sometimes in order to do savings, you use not the proper width or you know, of the rebar.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, the thicker that rebar is, the better the foundation will be and will handle all of the activity that obviously will be involved in the training of those 18-wheelers and the driving itself.
Right. So as part of the engineering tables that are considered through a civil engineer, they do have their tables that they go by. One, according to the use, the weight that's going to be applied to the concrete,
Yes.
versus the thickness of the concrete, the PSI of the concrete, and the size of the rebar. So all that has been taken into consideration. Yeah, the question, yeah, sometimes we find out that some of these projects that turn out to be failures because they start having shifts or cracks in concrete, sometimes they result because, one, the rebar is too small,
Exactly.
the rebar wasn't properly placed at the right height, or the concrete came in to the site what we call too hot, which has been sitting on the truck for too long.
There you go.
So I'd like to mention that we do have a material testing consultant on this project, and I'm very familiar with past experience on keeping an eye on the concrete and how long it sits out in the truck. This pad will probably be poured through a pump because considering the size of it. So one thing that we do monitor with a testing consultant and myself is we do monitor the time frame of a truck sitting on the curb waiting to be pulled up to be poured in.
That
We
was
monitor-
that was going to be my next question, because I had a similar experience, and I ended up hiring an individual that was knowledgeable about it, who actually sat during the time of the pouring of the concrete and would monitor those,
The truck sitting
those trucks,
waiting to
exactly.
be pulled up. Yeah.
Exactly.
So we keep a very close eye on that. On my past experience on where I used to work before, I would actually reject concrete trucks. They don't like it, but you know, I work for the district. I work for the college now,
Yes, sir.
and it's my responsibility to keep an eye on that and to reject concrete if it need be. It will be rejected.
Great.
So
Great.
we will keep an eye on that, and we will be picking up concrete samples. The consultant will also be testing the compaction, the placement of the rebar, the tying of the rebar, the height of it, and we'll be monitoring the trucks as they come in for cylinder tests that we will get results at 7 days, 14 days, and 28 days.
Excellent.
So
Okay.
we have all that lined up for this project.
Well,
Yes.
great. Thank you for.
Mr. Price, with regards to the savings that you mentioned, those are just items that were removed from the original plans, correct?
Right. So the overall scope of the project was to have the concrete slab there for the CDL certified testing. Along with that, you usually get other items that come into play. So one of them was like the fencing around it to secure the pad from anybody coming in during the courses that are being taken. We do have an athletic field right next door. So could it ever happen that there's two events going on at the same time, CDL classes being taught while there's a soccer game or another activity? It could happen. So there were items that were added to the scope of work, and so that was our option to remove those items to be able to be within the budget. You know, and our original budget is about 2 years old, so we have a very good number considering materials have gone up, rebar, concrete. You know, that we have to take that into consideration as well.
Were there any other quotes provided aside from Linebacker?
No, this is a CMAR. They are the contractor at risk, so they are taking care of the bond projects that are going on right now.
Okay. And there's no way they would consider instead of going $177,000 over our budget to settle it for the amount that's budgeted? without removing any other items?
Right now, we have pretty much cut everything off that we could.
And that's my concern, we've cut out a lot,
Yeah.
even though we only budgeted $846,368. And my fear is that the level of work may not meet what it is that's required for our students or for the community.
Well, we didn't cut back on what actually was left on the job or actually left on the GMP. That's pretty much original. That's the size of the slab, the thickness, the quality of the slab, all of that is still in the curb cuts, the handicap ramps that have to be taken place into consideration, the entrance gates, the modifications of the in and outs of the site, all that remains the same. We just took items out that were extra that did not affect the project that we have left on this GMP.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So we didn't cut back on the quality at all.
All right. Any other questions, Judge? All right, thank you, Mr. Bice.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to agenda item number 4, which is resolution to approve transfer of 20% annual general operating fund savings to physical plant to cover deferred maintenance products. Mr. Cesar Vela?
Yes, I'll start the discussion by showing a couple of pictures that we've taken around the Fort McIntosh campus. And the request that we're having for this Thursday's meeting is we want to see if the board can approve a resolution to transfer 20% of annual general operating fund savings to the deferred maintenance projects fund. And the reason for that is, again, as we can see here from the pictures, we do have quite a few projects, deferred maintenance projects that we need to address. Currently, the budget that's allocated annually to the physical plant department is only $500,000 a year. So it makes it a little bit difficult to address some of these projects. One of the major projects right now that we're working, we have issued out requests for proposals, is to address the parking lots, both here at the Fort McIntosh and at the South Campus. And as you can see from the picture here, this is just one small sample of what we currently are working on trying to address. And this is just right by the I believe this is the by the I forgot the name of the nursing. We used to be the nursing building here at the main campus, and you can see here that again there's a lot of wear and tear already on our parking lot areas. This is building T30. As you come into campus and drive to the parking lot here behind this building, you can see that it does need quite a work, mostly replacing some of the siding and some painting.
What building is that? Excuse me?
T30, the old theater.
The old what, I'm sorry?
The old theater here for the
okay.
fort.
Yes.
And then when we talk about maintenance, it could be as simple as knocking down some or cutting down some dead trees. As you can see, we do have with this past winter storm, we did get quite a few of those dead trees now that we need to remove. Now this is one of the buildings that was addressed as part of Phase 2, the facilities master plan. These are our campus housing. And you can see there that a lot of the protective barriers that we have for the mosquitoes there are already worn out. We need to replace all those. Again, another example, as you can see, the siding also is already showing age here. And these are buildings that were part of Phase 2. And we're talking about probably 7 years ago, we addressed these buildings. So again, because of their age, it's very difficult to maintain. So again, part of this money would be used to address some of these things. Here's in between the Arechiga Hall and the administrative annex building. This is actually part of a project that we're working on. Again, right now, we have not addressed this particular section because it'll be part of the fiber infrastructure upgrades. So we do need to have a concrete sidewalk in that area, but we have not addressed that at that point. But I guess the major part of this is the electrical hall itself. This building sits in the middle of campus between remodeled buildings. Recently, the Cigarroa Science Complex building. You got the Atkins building, and then you got the Erie Library building. And again, this is an area, a building that needs work. Again, the porch areas are actually in very bad conditions, and we do need to address those porches. Here's another picture, and you can see here we have cordoned off the area. That section of the porch has actually sunk down, so we need to address that area there, and as well as the porches on the second floor of this building. You can see there the condition that they currently are in. One other picture of campus housing, like I mentioned, it was part of phase 2. Again, we need to go in and start addressing some of this maintenance on these buildings. Again, the resolution that we're asking the board to approve, again, is that the board desires the transfer funds to the deferred maintenance fund shall be equal to 20% of annual general operating fund savings. The transfer shall be used to cover costs associated with deferred maintenance of facilities and equipment as approved by the Board of Trustees. And again, this would be projects that would be brought to the board for approval. Again, one of them being the parking lots that we're currently working on. Now, these transfers will only be made if the general operating fund balance reflects no less than 20% of the general operating budgeted expenditures for that fiscal year. If you, Judge, if you might remember, the board did approve a resolution to maintain 20% savings in the general operating fund balance. And that is important, again, because that is an item that the rating agencies, SACs, and the coordinating board look at. So again, as long as we have a fund balance of 20% or more, we would be able to, again, request that that transfer be made to deferred maintenance projects. And when we're talking about the transfer, like I mentioned, if we have savings for the fiscal year, only 20% of those savings would be going to this deferred maintenance.
In other words, coming back again to this, the board officially on a previous board meeting sometime back, under no circumstances are we to have access to the 20% fund balance, correct? In other words, the college is basically to always maintain a minimum of 20% fund balance. Is that correct?
That is correct, Judge.
Okay,
Yes.
so, and that is basically one reason why, like you just acknowledged, Laredo College has been always gotten exceptional credit rating on bonds, because we've always been have always maintained a healthy fund balance that basically has an impact on the rating of the bonds. So under no circumstances you will have access to that 20%, correct?
That is correct, Judge.
Okay.
And just to give you an example, right now for this fiscal year, we adopted a budget a little bit over 60 million. So we would need to maintain 12 million in the fund balance, and we currently
Okay.
have almost 3 times that amount
Right now we have, what, a little over 30% at the present time?
Actually, we're closer to 50%,
I'm sorry?
Judge. 50%.
Oh,
And again,
that's excellent.
that is factoring out, again, not taking into account GASB 68 and 75,
I understand.
which are requirements that we account for in our balance sheet.
Yes, sir.
But again, we do have close to 50% in the fund balance.
Excellent.
So again, this would, whenever we have savings at the end of the fiscal year, 20% of those savings would be set aside for deferred maintenance projects.
Great.
As long as we maintain that 20% that you mentioned on the general operating fund balance.
And I want to compliment you for addressing the old buildings of Fort McIntosh, because all of those are historical buildings, and it's important for us to maintain them and keep them as, you know, as they were, so to speak. because it is very much part of our history, and that is, I'm glad that you are addressing this.
No, and again, the folks that do the hard work is Mr. Cepeda and his staff. And again, the only thing that sometimes keeps him back from addressing some of these items are the resources, the financial resources. And it is important for us to maintain these buildings. Like I said, the campus housing, we addressed those buildings as part of the facilities master plan phase 2.
Good.
And there was a significant investment made by the institution to bring those buildings up to par. And I think it's a responsibility to maintain those and not let them go down to the point where we would need to go out again for another bond to address them. And again, it's again, as we identify projects, we'll bring them to the board.
Great.
Like I mentioned, one example right now of a project that we're looking at are the parking lots, specifically the ones at the South Campus. I think those are in dire need of to be refurbished. But again, as other projects come up, like roof repairs, HVAC repairs, all those could be addressed using some of these
Do
funds.
one of those original buildings, does it have a basement?
The
ones
one
that you're going to restore and
one of the buildings that actually was on the picture was the Arechiga Hall. That one has a basement.
That has a
also,
basement.
Yes, and also the administrative annex right behind that building also has a basement. Yes.
I was aware of that, and you're going to address that issue also?
At this point right now, the goal to for the Arechiga Hall would be to address the porch areas. Pretty much that building is in good shape. The only thing that right now needs to be worked on are the porches, that first and second floor porches.
Yes, sir.
But as far as the structure itself of the building, it's in good condition.
Good.
And again, maybe some paint would be nice, being that it is right next to recently remodeled buildings.
Yes.
But again, right now, we have the parking lots that we're working on. And like I said, as we go down the list, we'll bring those projects to the board for approval.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sure. Thank you. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Vela.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. All right. And that will conclude today's building committee meeting, unless there's any other questions or concerns, Judge? Nope. All right. Then this time it's 12:28 and we are adjourned.
Do you want a motion for us to
yes.
acknowledge that?
I'm sorry.
I so move.
Okay. Thank you. Second, roll vote. All right. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.